Hi. I'm a 23 years old man from a middle-class family with higher education, living in a globalized world. My roots, education, and background naturally drove me into trusting the principles of democracy. It guarantees that all citizens have an equal say in the decisions that affect their lives. Above all, democracy as a political system is a contract driven by two fundamental principles, allowing us to live together in harmony within a nation. The ability for one to elect his local representatives under universal suffrage, the fact that all decisions made by political leaders must guarantee the notion of common good. In other words, no decision must be taken for a small group of individuals as opposed to the entire community. These are the values my generation and I have been raised in: political self-determination, common good, and universal suffrage. My generation, like most of the generations before mine, is now looking forward into making this place a better one. We were born after the end of colonialism and Cold War, and can hardly remind the day the Berlin Wall fell down. We have to take perspective, understand the nature of the world we're living in, and realize the true specificity of our generation. We now live in an interconnected world in which economic exchanges and communication evolve at the speed of light, while social structures and political systems tend to remain unchanged. Investment banks, corporations live in a borderless world, while citizens and their elected representatives tend to be enclaved into nation-states. Therefore, our political power tends to remain limited to a geographical position within the borders of a nation. In this world, the notion of common good and universal suffrage appear to be overstepped by the agenda of international finance, instant and private profit as only perspective. In this context, we have to question ourselves: can democracy in its actual form adapt to this world? Can we live our lives without questioning politics, media, and the system itself? And can we, as the upcoming generation, really participate into making this place a better one? The global economic crisis we are facing helps us put democracy into perspective. It all started with this. Politicians were supposed to protect the interests of citizens, but instead they deregulated the financial system, making it possible for a few group of individuals to take advantage of the plenty. Investment banks were able to create credits they accorded to the poorest American citizens, knowing they could never pay back 9% interest rates. They covered up these toxic credits with the help of agencies, rating agencies, and sold them back on the market to other public or private investors without telling them the nature of these credits. Investment banks took systemic risk and endangered the entire system to allow the traders to make millions in bonuses. When speculation reached its climax and the economic bubble collapsed, thousands of citizens lost everything, and major financial corporations ended up ruined. So, did political leaders take measures to ensure any further problems? In fact, no. They simply saved the corporation responsible of the situation with public money and left citizens aside. The Fed injected over $1,200 billion at a 0.01% interest rate into private corporations. When the crisis evolved and spread into the European debt crisis, once again politicians took decisions for the benefit of financial industry. Instead of refinancing the states at the same interest rates, the Stability Pact, ratified by our European leaders, forces nations to borrow money from private banks at a minimum interest rate of 4%. To ensure the market, nations were also forced to apply several austerity measures, such as the freezing of allowance, retirement allowance, family allowance, state employee salaries, and development investments. Citizens endure austerity and only get a perspective of recession in return of the sacrifices, without even knowing where the money goes. Well, in fact, the money is simply transiting through the borders directly from central bank to private banks, while austerity embraces nations. Each time a European country gets the help of the ECB, the level of life of its citizens instantly decreases. And since austerity leads to recession that mechanically increases the level of the debt, we enter a revolving door cycle for the benefit of a small group of individuals. Profits are being socialized, profits are being privatized, financial loss are being socialized, politics are generalizing austerity, and the real decision makers are simply not elected by citizens. Franklin Roosevelt stated that government by organized money is just as dangerous as government by organized crime. So, why would politicians favor a minority of financial actors rather than the citizens who elected them? And how could wealthy individuals have this kind of influence over politicals? In fact, the porosity existing between the world of politics and finance can be part of the answer. Between 2000 and 2007, the Mortgage and Bank Association spent over $500 million to avoid market regulation. In 2010, the US Congress voted a law, which is called United Citizen Law, allowing unions, individuals, to support political parties without any funding limits. Politics need more and more money to pay for media coverage during a campaign, and the natural expectations of donors is that their needs will be served by the person they donate to. An increasing amount of millionaires have a seat at the US Congress, and the system is favoring a minority of wealthy individuals. More and more observers tend to compare democracies to plutocracies. The word comes from plutos, meaning wealth, and kratos, meaning power. A nation ruled by the wealthy, for the wealthy. And the porosity existing between these two arenas can become even thinner. Decision makers keep going back and forth between public and private arena, each time taking decisions for the benefit of a small group of individuals. In the last decades, former executives from Goldman Sachs Investment Bank have occupied positions such as Secretary of the US Treasury, Greek Prime Minister, leader of the European Central Bank, of the New York Stock Exchange, and the list goes on. But can this alone explain why citizens don't react to such a situation? It's funny how seeing a picture from the wrong perspectives gives you a distorted perception of reality. Are we really informed? TV channel focus on instant and buzzy information. National politicians offer an adapted situation to international problems, and the public is fed with this information. Can we react by voting? In fact, the recent changeover between left and right wing in France didn't impact the economic policy of the European Central Bank. The misunderstanding of the situation is conducting the rise of right-wing extremists around the world. It's employed against unemployed, natives against immigrants, believers against atheists, Greeks against Germans, countries against countries. It's always one against the other. And you see, that's the trap. We divide instead of focuses on the real problems. Could the enslavement of our politics be the reflection of our own voluntary servitude? Private corporations are more and more acting like a private state above democratic states, with the appliance of our politics. This is a painting by Eugène Delacroix, commemorating the French Revolution of 1830. It shows liberty guiding the people. Democracy comes from demos, people, and kratos, meaning power, giving power to the people. Henry Ford stated that it's well enough that people of the nation don't understand banking and monetary system, for if they did, I believe there would be a revolution before tomorrow morning. Knowledge should be our contemporary incarnation of liberty guiding the people. The understanding that we no longer are in a state of democracy knowingly allows us to take position. Globalization without real democracy is a contemporary form of enslavement in which states are the prison and politicians the jailers. They will do whatever is needed to access and keep power. This is simply human nature. but this nature can be turned at our advantage. Traditional medias used to spread information from top to bottom, enclosing the listener into an inactive position. Internet, social medias, and the upcoming of media convergency are horizontally structuring society and deeply changing the way we are now able to communicate and participate. The true specificity of our generation relies in the fact that we are the connected generation. We are given a historical chance to make a difference. We are, in a way, able to communicate and participate directly from peer to peer and get organized beyond the borders of a nation. We are really given a historical chance to make a difference, and we have to use it, get involved. In fact, the real solution will come from the arising of collective consciousness. If politicians want to keep the power, the upcoming media convergency will force them to more transparency, or they will be endangering the risk of appearing as manipulators. In fact, I don't really care whether it's right or left-wing who's in charge, since they're already applying the same politics. What I'm interested in is that they really respect the notion of common good. But if the tools exist, we have to use them in a better manner than posting Instagram pictures of our lunch or the local version of the Harlem Shake, which is pretty cool, but it's not going to get us far. In his book, The Net Disillusion, Henry Morozov demonstrated that we tend to focus on symptoms of the problem and rarely its causes. For instance, overweight has become a major issue in the United States, and instead of going after the lobbyists and interests of the agri-food industry, we provide people with phone apps, allowing them to manage their daily calories incomes. Movements such as the Arab Spring, Occupy, Les Indignés, or Anonymous have shown the world that a coalition of informed and organized citizens can impose financial market and politicians using the same patterns. An internationalized lobbying citizen movement bringing international solutions to the table in front of international problems. From now on, we are in a way responsible of the situation. Our generation is the first, as I was saying, capable of getting organized beyond the borders of nations, directly, and really represent this kind of citizen lobbying. What do I do about it? With 4 friends, we started Clamor, which is we aim at providing the world a tool that simply allows people to talk to the world. A no geolocated social media turning the territory into a broadcasting device, giving a concrete vision of public opinion across the world, allowing information to remain in a place and not be swallowed up in a continuous timeline. Today, I would like you to all think about the notion of collective consciousness and focus on the impact we could have if we only choose to move together in the same direction for our common good. Lincoln said that we are not enemies but friends. We must not be enemies. Though passion may have strain, it must not break our bonds of affection. Mystic cores of memory will swell when against touch, as surely they will, by the better angels of our nature. I've always believed that humanity as a community needed a goal to aim at. A reason to be looking together in the same direction. A goal helping us from not falling apart. A perspective. The perspective our generation has to offer is the arising of a social system matching the connected world we are now experiencing. This is the contribution our generation has to offer, and the answer is all ours. Every once in a while, I remind myself that we're rotating on this ball of rock, circling a ball of fire at the edge of the universe. And it reminds me a quote from Joe Strummer, lead singer of The Clash. We are all in this together. Thank you for your attention.